Well, hold tight on that one. Trump's border czar just dropped a rather cryptic warning that I believe you guys should be aware of because, well, there could potentially be some arrests coming here within the next couple of months, according to the border czar. Now, just who these arrests will be for is the big question. Quite frankly, I'm getting tired of all this corruption happening in our United States government and not a single arrest of any official who has committed any crime, but maybe things will change. It takes time to go after some of the, quote, upper dogs, just like it takes a little more effort to go after those in the top of the pyramid in the cartels, so to speak, versus in the bottom. So I'm going to give a little bit of leeway here. But for starters, listen to what border czar Tom Homan had to say when he was asked a question, well, about leaders like sanctuary city leaders who say, I'm going to impede your ability to deport. Take a watch.
Sir, there are laws on the books that make it a criminal offense to shield or harbor illegal immigrants like the sanctuary state and city leaders have been doing. Do you think they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and possibly put in prison?
Absolutely. And hold tight on that one. Because it's coming. It's coming. I've been clear on that since day one. The sanctuary city can sit by and watch their communities get ravaged by illegal aliens. They can watch young women get raped and murdered. Trump administration is not going to stand for that. So look, they can stand by and watch. And the Trump administration will secure their communities. The Trump administration will drive down illegal and crime in this country. If they don't do it, we'll do it for them. But they can't. They can sit aside and watch, but they can't cross that line. When they cross the line of harboring concealment, that's a felony. And we got Pam Bondi now who won't hesitate to take action. They can't impede in our enforcement efforts to make this country safe again. That's a felony. So President Trump's got his cabinet in place now. We got a strong AG. We got a strong Secretary of Homeland Security. We got a great group here. We got Steve Miller, one of the most brilliant men I ever worked with when it comes to border security and internal enforcement. You're going to see a lot of things happen in the next few months that people should expect. Many don't. But watch what comes in the near future.
In other words, sanctuary cities and people like Katie Hobbs, who just likes to impede and threaten Tom Homan from deporting illegal aliens, people like that who are impeding and harboring illegals in their state, which is a crime, by the way. In fact, he references it as a felony. Well, they could be arrested. I've got a lot to break down with you and share with you in today's broadcast, but just a quick break from my sponsor. If you're a dog owner like me, then you're already aware that, well, a dog's health can be complicated. In fact, sometimes it's hard to separate what is a healthy dog from an unhealthy dog. Well, Dr. Marty Goldstein, one of America's top holistic veterinarians, says there is one potentially dangerous substance which is found in many of your dog foods. In fact, you should stop feeding it to your dog immediately. The sad truth is that many dog food manufacturers have this substance in their dog food, and it's one of the most dangerous substances that your dog can have. And no surprise, most of the mainstream media is ignoring it. In fact, Dr. Marty, after years of research, has released an exclusive video for free to the public, by the way, and it's a video that's uninterrupted, and it showcases exactly what foods you should stop feeding your dog. And to check it out, all you have to do is go to healthydog1.com/Haven. That's healthydog1.com/Haven. And just by making this one change to your dog, you can help support his overall health. So check it out today. I'm a dog lover. You are not going to want to miss this one. If you want more information, click that more button if you're on your cell phone, or click the link in the description box below. So let's break down what Tom Homan was saying in this video. And they've got this really broken up in this Gateway Pundit article right here. And I'm going to go to the words that were said, because here's the thing. The reporter says, hey, there are laws on the books that make it a criminal offense to shield or harbor illegal aliens, like sanctuary state and cities, right? Leaders have been doing this. Can you, or would you prosecute them? And would you prosecute them to the full extent of the law and possibly put them in prison? And Homan's first initial response is absolutely, which he has been saying basically from day one that he will do. The problem is none of it has happened as of yet regarding people like that. Like no Katie Hobbs has been arrested, no Brendan Johnson has been arrested, or anybody of that nature. They're just still doing what they've been allowed to do forever, even though it's against the law, right? But he says, hold on tight on that one because it's coming. It's coming. I've been clear on that since day one. And he also says when they cross the line of harboring and concealing, that's a felony. And now we have Pam Bondi on our side. Basically, she won't hesitate to take action. And then he closes with this. You're going to see a lot of things happen in the next few months that people should expect. Many don't, but watch what comes in the near future. And I think that's the cryptic message he's concluding with. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in the next few months. So the way that I hear it is that Tom Homan will actually go forward with his word and begin the prosecution of those who are breaking the law. Ergo, meaning breaking the law in that you're harboring and concealing illegal immigrants. And might I suggest that many of these illegal immigrants, and sadly so, that the left is harboring and concealing, are like MS-13 gang members right now and people who have committed massive crimes. I mean, unfortunately, the law is if you come into this country illegally, right, or fortunately, whatever, then you have committed a crime. If our Democrats don't like that, then change the law, right? But this is the law. So they are, by definition, criminals. But Donald Trump right now and his administration are going after those who have committed crimes, big crimes, like MS-13 gang members. And I've got to tell you, I'm going to get into the one MS-13 gang member that they're calling Maryland man, father of five. And this is the picture that the mainstream media is painting. And they're just straight up lying to you. But before I get into that, here's just some updates on things that Tom Homan has threatened in the past. We know this. This is on WGN9, Chicago's sanctuary city status under investigation by federal committee amid immigration raids. We also know that Donald Trump has said, I'm going to withhold funds from sanctuary cities. Obviously, this is all in court. He's also threatened Katie Hobbs and said, hey, there could be repercussions for actions. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs may be in serious trouble. And then we also have Trump's border czar has doubled down on threats to have AOC investigated. As a reminder, AOC hosted like this live webinar on X, and she said, know your rights with ICE. And basically, in Tom Horn's opinion, she was impeding ICE, which I agree with Tom Homan on that one. So there's that. Now, I don't know if anything will come to fruition, if we'll actually go forward with, say, prosecutions against AOC, but he has put blanketed threats out there to investigate that. But there you have it. So what we do know right now is that there are big actions coming from this judicial coup to try to stop Donald Trump at every corner. In fact, we have this one judge, and here's this. A federal judge halts Trump administration's deportation of 500,000 Biden parolees. Now, to put this story very short and simple, A, there's a judicial coup. B, Biden said, okay, we can't deport these parolees, like 500,000 of them. We're going to keep them here. And here's the loophole we're going to use. And I'm really, really kind of just giving you the big overall picture. So Biden signs this executive order. This passes. Not a single judge says, oh, we're going to fight this because we can't deport these people. Nope. He just says, all right, we're going to allow you here to this level because of such and such. Over 500,000 people. Well, Donald Trump says, we're going to reverse that executive order. I'm going to write my own and we're going to be allowed to deport them. Well, a judge now comes in and says, you can't write that executive order. The problem is, why was it okay to Joe Biden to write the executive order in the first place, but not okay for Donald Trump to write the executive order undoing it? See, this is why this is illegal for this judge to even so much as try to do this. This is the kind of stuff that Donald Trump is fighting on a daily basis. And he's really pushing hard at things and trying to fix our country, but he's really got a long way to go. In fact, here's some good news. Donald Trump, and this is on Gateway Pundit, signs executive order barring illegal aliens from receiving Social Security. That is amazing. First of all, they shouldn't have been receiving Social Security. And by the way, they were also receiving Medicaid. So when the mainstream media is screaming, you're going to lose your Social Security and Medicaid. No, not if you're an American citizen. You are good to go. Or not if you're over the age 120, which no one in the United States is. Then you're good. So the mainstream media is out there lying to you and can't even stand on the right side of the fence when it comes to that. Either way, there's still this battle between left and right going on, and it's a real battle. You have the right side, or shall we say Republican side, who is saying, look, there's criminals, there's MS-13 gang members, there's Tren de Aragua. They're killing people, they're raping, they're murdering. People have died as a result. Let's get them the hell out of the country. And then you got the Democrats, and I hate to say this, but they are literally, even the judicial offices are saying, you can't deport MS-13 gang members. You can't deport these people. I don't care what the hell they did. They want them in the country. And morally, this is just sick. But let me show you how sick things have gotten on the Democrat side, or far leftist side. Obviously not every Democrat. But let's start with this latest case that's been all over the mainstream media. The Maryland man, father of 5, who was wrongfully deported. If you listen to the mainstream media, which is a load of crap, they are lying to you straight out. But here it is, the Gateway Pundit. Trump administration refuses to back down to Obama judge in latest court filing in Abrego Garcia case. Judge orders an intense 2-week inquiry. See, they are going back to the wire and saying, oh, let's look at this. Let's see what happened. But here's the short story, right? Abrego was deported to El Salvador. He was supposed to be deported already 2 times, right? He already had two deportation orders under the Biden administration, I believe, but don't quote that. But either way, there was a clerical administrative error. He had a temporary stay. That was the error that you keep hearing. Both sides agree that there was an administrative or clerical error, right? That he had a temp stay of his deportation. In other words, you can temporarily stay for now, right? The Trump team deported him anyway, regardless of that. But here's the kicker. It was 100% legal for them to do that for a couple of reasons. Number 1, he's a legal alien, committed a crime. Number 2, doesn't matter what the mainstream media tells you. They are lying to you. Meanwhile, they're saying we're lying. They're freaking lying. He is an MS-13 gang member. And because of his MS-13 gang membership, that puts him on as a terrorist, thereby deportable. Donald Trump has listed these gang members as terrorists. They can now very easily be deported to El Salvador. So regardless of the temp stay, he was a gang member. And by the way, 2 judges, not 1, but 2 judges, 2 different judges have ruled that, yes, this man is an MS-13 gang member. Now, to find out how sick, just if you look at the mainstream media now, they're sick. They're calling this man a Maryland man. First of all, he's not from Maryland. He came here illegally, I believe it was 10 years ago. He's illegal. He's not born in Maryland. He isn't a Maryland citizen. So that's wrong right off the bat. And then to say that basically he's not affiliated with any gang, they're just leaving that off their story altogether, is just sick in the head. And by the way, there was a Supreme Court ruling saying they had to bring him back, but there's a lot of loopholes to that. And Donald Trump is fighting with them on that. There's a lot more, but I don't want to get into that. What I do want to get into is El Salvador's president, right? Bukele even said, I'm not sending him back. Take a look at this. And we can't supersede another country's rulings, right? I'm not going to do it. El Salvador refuses to return MS-13 terrorists to the U.S., and this is on Zero Hedge. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, will not return El Salvadorian citizen mistakenly deported from the U.S., suggesting that to return the man would be smuggling a terrorist into the U.S. And he's talking about this man, Abrego Garcia. It goes on. Well, and here's what he said. Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? Bukele said when pressed on returning the man to the U.S., return him to the U.S., I smuggle him into the U.S., I'm not going to do that. In other words, he's saying how silly is this entire thing? The guy smuggled himself into the U.S., you brought him back, we put him in our prisons because he's an MS-13 gang member, and now we have to smuggle him back into your country, and I have to smuggle a terrorist. Nah, I'm not interested in that. In fact, take a listen to what Tricia McLaughlin had to say to the reporter on this exact thing. She really puts the gauntlet down, so to speak.
But I think what really matters to Americans is that this MS-13 gang member, who unfortunately, Jay, you and a lot of your colleagues have called a Maryland man, when in reality,
I'm going to stop you there. What is your evidence,
member.
Tricia? Wait, I got to stop you there. What's your evidence that he's in MS-13?
Well, there's actually been 2 separate immigration judges, Jay, who have confirmed and ruled that he is a member of MS-13.
Well,
that, as well as we have intelligence,
it was brought up in deportation
they sure
proceedings.
Did, Jay.
But what's the evidence that was brought up in those deportation proceedings that he's in MS-13?
And they dismissed his appeal, Jay. I can do this all day, Jay. He is a member of MS-13. I don't think you'd want to be his neighbor, Jay. I sure wouldn't. And I don't think many Americans watching would want to be this individual's neighbor. He's been involved in human trafficking. He's been involved in labor trafficking, and he should not be in this country. So whether he's in an El Salvadorian jail or a U.S. detention facility, I am so very glad, as are millions of Americans, that he is off of U.S. streets.
Absolutely. Right on the head. Trafficking and other things he's being accused of. And this is where the Democrats want to make their stand. You know, it reminds me of this, right? Well, let me show you this before I get into that, because I think this is going to add a little more to it. Take a look at this. Gateway Pundit. Democrat lawmakers are out there saying, we're going to travel till El Salvador and demand that the president over there has him illegally detained and he's kidnapping. They're out there saying this is a kidnapping. This is not a kidnapping, right? And they're saying, we'll travel over there and we want to take a look at what's going on. Take a look to what they're actually saying. Listen.
I saw the comments of President Bukele, and I look forward to meeting with him. I've requested to meet with him. I reached out to the ambassador here to ask to meet while he's here. But I've also made clear if we can't meet here, I do intend to go to El Salvador to discuss the release of this individual who is illegally detained. A Maryland man who's the father of 3.
Not
in a
illegally.
notorious prison in El Salvador. And I believe the president of El Salvador will recognize why it's important to allow him to return to the United States of America, because it is absolutely unjust and illegal to have this Marylander detained one more day in a notorious prison in El Salvador.
Now listen to this part.
President Trump could have just said, bring him home. Of course he could have done that. But this is an administration that has lied about Mr. Abrego Garcia, right? The vice president of the United States tweeted out that he had a criminal record.
All right, I'm done. So he's out there. He does have crimes on his background. They are out there blatantly lying. The mainstream media is lying. The Democrats are lying, and they're trying to cover their own tracks. This isn't a kidnapping here. This is what is truly happening. They are supporting a gang member. And this isn't uncommon, right? Let's flash back to, George Floyd, for example, or even Luigi Mangione, right? Now, let's start with Luigi Mangione. And this really concerns me about Democrats. This is a man who murdered a healthcare CEO. Democrats are out there, hey, let's support this guy. Whoa, a murderer. They're supporting a murderer. These people are, I mean, where is their moral line? I'm not sure exists, at least on the ones that are supporting that. Now, imagine if you were a jury on the trial of Luigi Mangione. What are you going to do? I'm going to get death threats and everything as a juror, so we're going to go really light on him, right? I don't think he's going to get half the sentence that maybe the right expects or believes that he should, or even, I don't think he'll be punished the way he should for the crime that he committed because of all the outcry from the radical left. Even though this man is a straight up killer. It wasn't done in self-defense. It was just done because I don't like what you're doing in the healthcare system and what I have to pay for healthcare. And he's being paraded around as some kind of savior, a literal murderer of a healthcare person. And somehow that's acceptable. And now the chances of him getting a real, legit trial are slim to none. Okay, mark my words on that. Hey, that reminds me of another story that happened. This is, I hate to say this is in America, but hey, let's go back to Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. George Floyd, autopsy showed he died of fentanyl overdose, not of choking, a fentanyl overdose. He had a lot in his body. But that didn't matter. That didn't matter to the left, because they're like, prosecute, long-term, forever. And in fact, Derek Chauvin, all the officers there that day, and even the freaking damn cameraman, were all convicted and sentenced to jail time. Didn't matter. Even the judge came out and said, I don't think this is ever going to be a fair trial. Why? Because of what's happening on the left. How is that fair? And that's my point here. That's what's happening, and why the left and the mainstream media are out there saying, we support this Maryland guy who's an MS-13 gang member, but they don't care. They've already done it before by supporting a murderer, Luigi Maggioni, and then going against, standing with George Floyd, making this accusation against these police officers in order to paint a narrative. Well, now they're painting another narrative with this illegal immigrant, saying Trump just deports whoever he wants. You see, it's all about the narrative and what they want to push. The facts don't matter to the Democrats. And this is the point that I want to say here. And here's the end, big line, if you will. I really hope that our country gets around this. I hope Donald Trump says, you know what? We have to go through a little bit of rough pack, but in the end, the leftists, the Democrats, they'll come around and see that supporting actual terrorism is not okay. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe. I don't see it. I don't know. I pray to God that I'm wrong, but hopefully so. Or the left can continue to get more virulent and support more cases like that and just lie because they have the mainstream media on their side. And unfortunately, people are believing the mainstream media, even though they claim not to. And in which case, I see things rising more and tensions rising in the U.S. And God forbid, and I pray this never happens, not anywhere I want to go ever, but God forbid we end up in another civil war or something like that. We could be headed in that direction as well. There's been many predictions on that, unfortunately so. And I'm not saying that's where we're headed. I only hope that that's not, but it seems things are getting worse, at least on the far left, as we dive more and more and more and more into the future, right? Things are intensifying, folks. And here's the other part of it. I don't get how, and this is just me talking in conclusion to this whole thing. I don't see how a huge group of people, like so many Democrats, can support narratives like that. And basically be, the mainstream media is right. I'm going with the mainstream media. The leftists say this. So they're all following the same narrative. Oh, yeah, the mainstream media said it. It's true. I support it, blah, blah, blah. But in the back of their mind, they actually think they're against the system, when in reality, they're all with the system. And there's a mass movement with the system. And they're all going together in one direction. The ones who break off are us. But the ones who are going with the system want to pretend like they're going against the system when they're not. It's all convoluted. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense to all of you. But with that, as a quick reminder, I want to encourage you guys to get to restrictedrepublic.com. Look, I created this new site in light of everything that is going on. But at Restricted Republic, we publish exclusive content. And I really hope to see you there because there is a lot of information that's not shared here that is exclusive to that platform. So go and get the inside information. Use the coupon code Lisa and the number 5 to get it for $5 per month. Hope to see you there. Anyhow, I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.